Carisbrooke Castle is a historic motte and bailey castle located in the village of Carisbrooke near Newport on the Isle of Wight. Charles I was imprisoned at the castle in the months prior to his trial. The site of Carisbrooke Castle may have been occupied in pre-Roman times. A ruined wall suggests that there was a building there in late Roman times. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle mentions that Wight, cousin of King Cynric of Wessex, died in AD 544 and was buried there. The Jutes may have taken over the fort by the late 7th century. An Anglo-Saxon stronghold occupied the site during the 8th century. Around 1000 AD, a wall was built around the hill as defence against the Vikings. From 1100, the castle remained in the possession of Richard de Redvers family, and over the next 2 centuries his descendants improved the castle with stone walls, towers and a keep. In 1293, Countess Isabella de Fortibus, the last Redvers resident, sold the castle to Edward I. From then on, its governance was entrusted to wardens as representatives of the crown. In 1377, in the reign of Richard II, the castle was unsuccessfully attacked by the French. It was reputedly saved by local hero Peter de Hayenau, who shot the French commander. Anthony Woodville, Lord Scales, later Earl Rivers, obtained the grants of the castle and rights of lordship in 1467. He was responsible for the addition of the Woodville Gate, now known as the Big Entrance Gate. Woodville was killed, unfortunately, by Richard III in 1483, but his brother, Edward Woodville, was given control of the castle on accession of Henry VII in 1485. The keep was added to the castle in the reign of Henry I, and in the reign of Elizabeth I, when the Spanish Armada was expected, it was surrounded by additional fortifications by Sir George Carey, who had been appointed governor of the Isle of Wight in 1583. Carey later commissioned the Italian engineer Federico Gambelli to make more substantial improvements to the defences. Starting in 1597, Gambelli constructed a modern Tres Italienne fortification, a squat rampart and ditch supported at intervals by powerful bastions, which completely surrounded the old castle and bailey. The new fortification was mostly completed by 1600 at the cost of £4,000. Charles I was imprisoned here, mentioned before, for 14 months before his execution in 1649 in London. Afterwards, his 2 youngest children were confined in the castle, and Princess Elizabeth died there. From 1896 to 1944, it was the home of Princess Beatrice, daughter of Queen Victoria, as Governor of the Isle of Wight. It's now under the control of the English Heritage. The castle is located above and to the south of Carisbrooke village centre, which was the original centre of the Isle of Wight. In 2007, English Heritage opened a holiday flat inside the castle in converted former staff quarters. The castle received 131,000 visitors during 2019. Carisbrooke was the strongest castle on the island. Though it's visible from some distance, it does not dominate the countryside like many other castles, say for example in North Wales. There are traces of a Roman fort underneath the later buildings. 71 steps lead up to the keep. In the centre of the castle enclosure are the domestic buildings. These are mostly of the 13th century with other parts of the 16th century. Some are unfortunately in ruins, but the main rooms were used as the official residence of the Governor of the Isle of Wight until the 1940s, and they remain in good repair. The Great Hall, Great Chamber and several smaller rooms are open to the public, and an upper room houses the Isle of Wight Museum. Most rooms are partly furnished. One of the main subjects of the museum is King Charles I. He tried to escape from the castle in 1648 but was unable to get through the bars of his window. This may have actually ultimately led to his execution, and one of the reasons for. My wife and I are actually members of English Heritage, and we've been to the site many times actually. It's because it's free to get in once you're a member for the year. Now the keep particularly, the steps are really steep, and there's a baffle at either end just in case you were to fall, but do use the railings for obvious reasons. It feels like just a working place, as in, you know, you could live there. It's just an extraordinary little castle. It's not a ruin. It's a fascinating area. So visit it when you come to the Isle of Wight.